Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.
It's Wednesday, August 16th. This is The Gateway. I'm Wayne Pratt. A planned Illinois bill would require attorneys for kids in police interrogations. Advocates say children need a lawyer to understand their constitutional rights.
Children do not have agency. Under 18, they're not even allowed to go on a field trip from the school without parental permission.
We'll have that story in just a few minutes. Hawthorne Leadership School for Girls is closing. St. Louis Public Radio's Kate Grumke reports the announcement comes 1 week before classes were supposed to start.
At the school on North Kings Highway Boulevard, there are still bright yellow signs that say enrolling now for 6th through 9th grade. The all-girls charter school had about 120 students as of 2 years ago. It opened in 2015 and had middle and high school. Kira Williams' daughter was supposed to be going into 8th grade at Hawthorne.
I'm just a little frustrated right now, a little sad for my baby, and I have to figure something out because school starts next week and I do not want her to be behind at all.
Hawthorne leaders have offered to help parents search for new schools. Williams hadn't yet received that help on Tuesday afternoon. I'm Kate Grumke, St. Louis Public Radio.
20 Missouri school districts are moving away from the state's standardized testing and accountability system. The group wants to stop relying on the Missouri assessment program in favor of assessing student performance throughout the year. Liberty Public Schools Superintendent Jeremy Tucker says the new way of testing would let teachers better adapt.
It's now my task as a teacher to really tailor and modify instruction to all 25, 30, or at the secondary level, 200 students that I might have on my roster to meet their individualized needs.
The school districts plan to seek a federal waiver to stop administering state testing. A state commission is asking the Missouri School Board to improve climate and culture at schools. Jody Fortino reports teachers in Missouri feel undervalued and overworked.
The Missouri Blue Ribbon Commission told the state school board on Tuesday that one way to better support educators is by putting more than one teacher in the classroom. It says that will give newer teachers more support and experienced teachers more leadership opportunities. The commission also recommended expanding apprenticeship and residency programs and recruiting retired teachers. It also suggested more training for school board members and administrators on maintaining a positive school culture and climate. The state board will consider these recommendations when developing its legislative priorities this fall. I'm Jody Fortino.
The Missouri Supreme Court has upheld the convictions of 2 single mothers charged with violating a state law mandating children attend school. The Missouri Independent reports the mothers from Lebanon, about 150 miles southeast of Kansas City, argued they were unclear about how the district defined unexcused absences. However, the court ruled the parents were told by the district they were breaking the law. One mother spent 7 days in jail. The other received 2 years probation. Missouri's Attorney General is involved in a landmark legal battle over what constitutes illegal social media censorship. Attorney General Andrew Bailey is part of the Missouri v. Biden case, which seeks to restrict federal employees from getting social media content taken down. A lawyer for the federal government says a successful outcome could make it difficult to combat misinformation. Bailey says government officials are within their rights to publicly say a social media post is wrong. He says the issue is trying to get content removed from platforms like Facebook or YouTube.
People are allowed to have bad ideas, and it's up to the rest of us to convince them of the error of their ideas. It's not for the government to censor that speech.
The case was recently argued in front of an appeals court panel, but the U.S. Supreme Court will likely make the final call. St. Louis officials are asking residents to envision what could be done with the city's empty medium security jail. People can submit ideas through an online survey. Some formerly incarcerated people want to see the jail become a resource center. St. Louis Public Radio's Andrea Henderson reports.
Inez Bordeaux spent a month in the workhouse in 2016 for violating her probation. She remembers seeing rodents and living with mold on the ceilings. Bordeaux wants the jail to be torn down, and she sees it as a community center.
It could be something like a resource hub, one building where you can go to get help with housing, with childcare, rental assistance.
The city wants others to voice their opinions for reimagining the empty jail and the land it sits on. Some respondents to a survey earlier this summer said they could see the space used as a recreation center or a museum. The survey is available until September 30th at aftertheworkhouse.com. I'm Andrea Henderson, St. Louis Public Radio.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture has issued a drought disaster declaration for several central and downstate Illinois counties. The federal government can now issue emergency loans to farmers whose crops and livestock have been affected during this year's growing season. A previous drought disaster declaration included St. Clair, Monroe, Randolph, Washington, and Adams counties. One of the biggest employers in the Rolla area has finished a manufacturing facility's expansion. Brewer Science produces chemicals used in making computer chips. Chief Operating Officer Sri Komu says the company is proving that high-tech manufacturing can be successful in small Midwest towns.
So we maintained a culture, and we proved to the world that through sincerity, hard work, and the focus on technology and taking care of people, you can make a very profitable business in Rolla.
Komu says the expansion will allow Brewer to hire more workers to meet an increasing demand. Some Illinois lawmakers are planning legislation to require a lawyer for all children under police interrogation. That's after police in the Chicago suburb of Waukegan led a 15-year-old to confess to a shooting he did not commit. Chip Mitchell reports.
The effort to require a lawyer for juvenile interrogations comes after WBEZ sued for release of some video footage. It shows Waukegan police interrogating the 15-year-old about a shooting that wounded a dollar store clerk. We're not naming the teen due to his age, but we've posted clips and a full transcript online.
How you doing, man? Good.
It begins with the 15-year-old shivering, both arms inside his T-shirt. It's lunchtime, and there's no food. He tells the lead detective, Sean Ains, he wants to go home. Ains eventually reads him his Miranda rights.
I'm going to read this to you, and I'll kind of explain a little bit as I go, okay? You have the right to remain silent.
But those explanations from the detective actually undercut the Miranda warnings, like when he tells the kid he has a right to a lawyer.
Just keep in mind, I'm asking you, do you want to have a lawyer right here in this room right now? Realistically, lawyer coming here within the next 5-10 minutes, that's not going to happen. So if you want to have a lawyer, that's cool. But again, this conversation is going to end for right now, okay?
In other words, if you want to go home anytime soon, you should probably skip the lawyer.
No, I have to ask you, do you want to have a lawyer? No? Okay.
Proceeding without a lawyer for the 15-year-old, the detective tells him some shooting suspects get to go home after confessing, like if they shot in self-defense. Ains inflates the evidence against the teen and implies his goose is already cooked. He feeds the teen key facts about the shooting instead of seeing if he can come up with them on his own. Little by little, the teen implicates himself.
I would not let my children be interrogated without a lawyer present with them. We would all want our children to have a lawyer present with them. They're more likely to panic and do anything just to get out of that room.
Attorney Elizabeth Clark says children of all ages under interrogation need a lawyer to understand their constitutional rights and the consequences of any statement they might make.
Children do not have agency. Under 18, they're not even allowed to go on a field trip from the school without parental permission.
Clark's group, the Juvenile Justice Initiative, it helped get state laws passed so kids younger than 15 must have a lawyer if they're being questioned in custody about a murder or sexual assault. Clark says a lawyer should be required for anyone under 18. Data from the National Registry of Exonerations show at least 30 Illinoisans between ages 15 and 17 have confessed to serious crimes, been convicted, then been officially cleared based on new evidence. But requiring a lawyer for all kids under 18 has faced opposition from law enforcement groups. John Milner lobbies for the Illinois Association of Chiefs of Police.
18 and under, we feel that we don't want an attorney involved because attorneys will not let the suspect talk.
Milner says if a child is allowed to talk to police, the officers can clear the kid's name right away, like if there's an alibi for when the crime occurred.
We'll follow up on that and say, okay, you're making sense here. We'll get that taken care of and let the guy go. And this happens basically every day in police departments.
The 15-year-old who was interrogated in Waukegan, he did have an alibi, but he seemed confused and didn't raise it. So he went to jail, charged with attempted murder. He was released after 2 nights, but only after his basketball team proved he was at a game in another town during the shooting. Clark says the lack of a lawyer in the room not only makes a false confession more likely, it can make solving the crime harder.
Either the child didn't have the presence of mind to talk about his alibi, or he talked about it and the police immediately discounted it, where if a lawyer had been there, the lawyer could have, separately called the parents. This is where the kid was. You got the wrong kid.
Clark's group and the ACLU of Illinois say the video of that 15-year-old's false confession, that footage WBEZ obtained and made public, it could help pass a bill requiring children under 18 to have an attorney to be interrogated.
That's reporter Chip Mitchell. The Gateway is a production of St. Louis Public Radio, a listener-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Wayne Pratt.
Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.